Yo, yo, YouTube! It is Friday, the 10th of November, and it's one of those videos where I know what I'm going to call it. This video is called What Would You Do? So I'm going to describe to you, try to remember the order of the facts as they happened. And then I want you to think about what would you do, if anything, if you came across this situation. So let me start off talking about the start of my day. I had a job booked in from yesterday, going from Peterborough to, just get it in front of me, I'm going to say it right, Ilkeston. And I had a vague plan that I might be able to get the connection work from Grimsby, Scunthorpe, going to Leeds again, which I'd been offered the day before, but my tyre had burst. And I also had a vague plan that if I get myself to Leeds, I might be able to do a job I did 2 weeks ago, which was an overnight job. So my idea was to get to Ilkeston, and then I would sort of be in the right area of the country to get myself towards Grimsby or Leeds, depending on how things went. Now my pickup was 8 o'clock, so I left home at around about 7:20 this morning, and I arrived on site about 5 minutes to spare. Went to the site office and then found out what it was I was taking and handballed it onto my van. At this point, everything was going very smoothly. I had no reason to think anything was astray. And so I updated the CX system as always, took photos, got a pod, I created a pod so that the security guards could sign. I got myself off site, and I was looking at jobs. I think I put a future journey on, so that I could look for jobs getting me from Ilkeston towards Grimsby. And I happened to notice a job from exactly the same postcode going to exactly the same postcode today at 11 o'clock. So 3 hours after I'd been booked to do my job. And that piqued my interest, because the person that had given me the job that I was on was different to the shipper that had the 11 o'clock version of my job. And because of the nature of the shipper, because the shipper that had the job at 11 o'clock, I've worked for them before, they're a reasonably big outfit, I think, and they're very professional, is my perception of them. And so I did wonder, why is there a second job on the same day going in the same area with a different shipper? But it could be the case that that's just the way it is. So I called the shipper that had given me my job, and I just said to them that I had collected the item now, and that I'd handballed it off the pallet, because the notes had said collect one pallet and nothing else in the notes. So I just explained I'd put the items on my van from the pallet. And I asked him, is this a regular job? And he said it wasn't. So I put the phone down and carried on to do the job. But it just niggled me, why was there this second job from quite a big shipper later on in the day? And I really wanted to call that shipper, but I know that just calling a ship out of the blue, it's quite hard to kind of take you seriously unless you're ringing for a reason. So I didn't want to sort of ring them to find out if they would have it. But I was going to say, well, if you've got this job later on, I'm going to the same place. Can I take both jobs for you? So to take I'm going to the same. I'm going to Ilkeston. It looks like I'm going from the same location. I know it's later on in the day, but maybe there's some flexibility. I can take both up because I had loads of space in my van, and the items that I had put on weren't fragile, or they were of a nature that I thought that doing a co-loading would be absolutely fine. I didn't feel there was an urgency to the delivery. But I didn't make the call, I just left it. And I made my way to Ilkeston, which was about an hour and a half away. And when I got to the other end, I went first of all to their version of the site office. So it's two. I was delivering from and to the same company, just different locations. And then in this office, they said, "Oh, have you got the samples?" So I knew at this point that what I had was something that was going to be sampled rather than an item that was to be used or sold. And bearing in mind the packaging, it made sense now. There was stuff in plastic bags and just tied off with some labels I've written on them. So it made sense now what I was taking. So samples to be tested. That makes sense. So then I went to the correct place because they said to go take these to the office. So I drove around to the office of this location, and I met. I asked for some help with who to see, and as soon as I showed one guy what I had, he knew where to go. Took me to the lady who was dealing with it, and she helped me get them off the van. And she mentioned that this is a weekly thing that she has. She has it from 2 sites every week. And she mentioned, "We always use your company for this." Now that's the comment that really got me wondering. We always use your company for this. Which implied to me there was one company that had this contract. And I was pretty sure that who I was working for wasn't that company. So I called the guy that gave me the job again. I said I completed the work. And while I was calling, I just did a bit of checking on the app. I checked the terms of payment, the payment terms, and it was 60 days. So I asked him the question, when can I get paid for this? And he gave me a bit of a vague answer along the lines of, "Oh, we get you paid within 30 days, so sometime after that we'll pay you." So it wasn't specific, it wasn't referring to me to his terms, which were written down. I'm not even sure he knew his terms. They were written in his exam. The other thing that raised my suspicion is, I want to add this detail to the story. When I called the ship that gave me the job, it was a mobile number, and when I called it, it was answered within a couple of rings. And the guy that answered it didn't say, "Hello, I'm Roger from ABC Logistics." It was just, "Hello." So the fact that it was answered so quickly, the fact that it was a mobile number, the fact that it was answered in that way, made me think I was dealing with a driver shipper, not a kind of freight forwarding company that had an office. And I knew that the job that I had done was being done by another company that I know is bigger and has an office. So I was beginning to think, am I doing this job for the other shipper, but through a driver shipper? And if I am, why would that need to be the case? Because I could just get the job directly from the other shipper, the main shipper. Let me call them the main shipper and then the driver shipper to differentiate the two parties. And then I was thinking, well, what if the main shipper don't know that I'm doing the job for them? Now, I know I'm going to do a good job for them. I've done jobs for them before, and they've been really good at paying me and giving me good feedback. But what if I'd not won this job? What if it'd been another driver? How would I feel if I was the main shipper? And I was put myself in this shoes thinking I probably wouldn't be that happy. So I just wondered, what do I do here? Do I do anything? Do I just leave it? Do I do something? And I suppose in these situations, I have to rely on my values that I've written down in my mission statement. And my values are to be open and honest, to be reliable, and to be there's a couple of other things that I've mentioned before. But open and honest is the thing that comes to mind. So I felt that I had a duty to tell the main shipper what had happened. So I called. Oh, so yes. So again, I was thinking I can't just call them out of the blue and do this because they're going to be busy people. They're not going to just take the call. But at that point, I'd offloaded it to Ilkeston, and a job came up from Alfreton, which is about half an hour away, going to Grantham. And I had about 4 hours. Oh yes, sorry, I missed something else. This is nothing to do with the dilemma I was in, but it just gives you some context about my decision making. I had been called at about 8:30 and given the job from Grimsby to Scunthorpe to Leeds, so I knew I had to be there at 2:30. So I was offloaded at 10:15 in Ilkeston. I had between then and 2:30 to get myself to Grimsby, so I had some time to get a job done. A job came up. There was nothing going to Grimsby, which would have been ideal. But the best I could come up with was a job going from Alfreton to Grantham. And my logic was Grantham's on the right side of the country and it's on the A1M. If I just whiz up that road, I should be able to get to Grimsby without too much hassle if things go wrong. I had the options to go sort of west to get jobs from sort of Leeds to Burnley and stuff, but it was too far away. I would never go back in time. So and would you believe it? The job from Alfreton to Grantham was with the main shipper that I had, that I was thinking about contacting. So I thought, so they wanted £45 for their job. Let me just see how many miles it was. So it was 44 miles for a small van. They wanted £45. I've been out of principle. I've been £50, thinking that's my principle really. That's my minimum, and I hoped I'd get a call from them. And I did get a call from them, and it was the same lady that had given me a job at a previous time. So I accepted the job. They did say you did 45, and I was quite happy on this occasion to take it down to 45. And then I said, "Can I talk about something that's not to do with this booking?" And I said to them, So I suppose this is where I'm now saying what I did. So you could draw a line here, and you could say, what would you have done with that background? The choices I think are do what I did, which is to tell the main shipper, or just tell nobody. But I've already explained why I had no choice really. I had to tell the main shipper what I'd not really discovered, but what I'd kind of felt wrong. So I explained to them that it might be perfectly legitimate, but you had a job on from 11 o'clock going from where I was a moment ago to where I am now in Ilkeston. Is that a job that you did regularly? And she said it was. And I said, well, I've just done that job with a different shipper. I don't know if it's legitimate or not, but I think you should know that's the case. So she said she'd tell her transport manager and thank me for letting her know. I think in the conversation, I was trying to think out what else I talked about. I kind of explained what made me think it was not legitimate. I said to her that I felt that I had to tell them just in case it wasn't right. And they asked me if I knew the CX number of the company, which I didn't know because it was open. I was using it, but I didn't tell them the name of the company, and left it with them. And then I carried on with so I got the job from Alfreton to Grantham. I went and collected it. Then on the way from Alfreton to drop off. Oh yeah, in Alfreton it was just. I'm glad I dropped it by £5 because I literally just had an envelope-sized package, and so £45 is well worth that. And on the way down to Grantham, I had a call from the transport manager, and we had a conversation. And I said to her, "Is it wrong if somebody gives another party, if somebody wins a job on the CX and gives that job to somebody else?" And she said that, in her opinion, definitely it was wrong, and that for them it was definitely something they would worry about because they only have certain drivers that work for them. So she mentioned, for example, they only have drivers that have good feedback, that are insured, that have the tracking on, and that have vans that are less than 8 years old. And we kind of had a discussion about it, and she was making the point that, and I agreed with her that she needs to be accountable for what happens to the load because it's her customers that she's dealing with, that's being dealt with, and that if it's someone she doesn't know, there's the accountability breaks down. And she did say, as an exception, if a driver was to break down, it would be legitimate to pass that load on the CX to another driver. But to me, that's common sense. That it's not about hiding it from someone. It's about solving a problem in that case. So I was, yeah. Anyway, so I finished the conversation with her, and she's thanked me for telling her, and she's looking into it. So it seems to me that what I was doing was potentially a job for the main shipper that had been given to another shipper that they thought was doing the job. And that to me doesn't seem like it's the correct way of working. It's just not. So I chose to report that to that shipper. So what would you have done in that situation? Okay, let's move on then. So I got to Grantham and offloaded at about just before 1 o'clock, about 10 to 1. And I was going to look for jobs, but I had an hour and a half's journey to Grimsby, so I was looking for jobs all the way down to Grantham. There was nothing going really anywhere near the right direction. So I just dead miled it up to Grimsby and arrived there at 2:30, dead on time. I then did my pick-up in Grimsby, pick-up in Scunthorpe, pick-up in Immingham, then Scunthorpe, and then delivered it in Leeds. So I've done this job 3 times now, and I know exactly where to park, exactly where to go. It's really quite easy now. The first three drops are all close together, and the 4th drop is Scunthorpe, which is about half an hour's drive away from Immingham. So it takes about an hour to do all the pickups. And then Leeds is about an hour and 10 minutes away from Scunthorpe, but then traffic usually makes it longer. But today, the traffic was really quiet at sort of 5 o'clock to 5:30 in Leeds. It was was weird. So I got to the depot really quickly and got off, and there's no one in the queue. Got in and out really quickly. So I was fortunate to, by about 5:45, be able to look for other jobs. I just missed out on getting there in time to effectively gain a job, or at least have a chance of winning a job from Leeds to Kings Lynn. But on the way to Leeds, I did ring the guys that do the overnight job, and said that I would want to bid for that if it came up again, and we had a quick discussion about it. And then I was looking out for that as I got closer to Leeds, and that didn't come up. A few jobs came up that I bid on. One went to the one I did bid on the one that went to Kings Lynn, but I was never going to get there in time. It got given away. There's a job going to London from Leeds for the same company. I think it might be a hospital job, I'm guessing from the notes. And I bid on that quite highly. It didn't go off, but I didn't get it. But then a job came up which was very similar to the one I wanted, which is from the same shipper. It's going to Gainsborough and Louth, but not Norwich. It was due to go at between 5:45 and 6:45, and now it was sort of 5:50 now. So I put a bid on that. It was 103 miles. I bid on £110, and I got the job. And it was the same route, but without Norwich bit on. But when I was speaking to the guy who gave it to me, he realised that he's been on the wrong time, and it was actually meant to be an 8:30 pickup. And I was really, I'm not able to think on my feet very quickly. So I was really thinking, I don't want to wait around for 2 hours now, or 2.5 hours. Actually, no, I was about 25 minutes away from the pickup point, so 2 hours waiting. I don't really want to wait around for 2 hours, but I've kind of said I want to do this job now, and it is a shipper I like, and it will get me closer to home. So basically, after a bit of iffing and butting, I said I'd do the job, and I said something like, I like your company and I want to build a relationship, therefore I'll do this job at this price. I'll do the job anyways. I came off the phone and I kind of instantly, my first response was, oh, I've underpriced that one. Because I'd forgotten that it had 2 stops, so usually about £10 on per stop. Or at least £10 for extra additional stop on. So I think I should have been at least £120. So my initial feeling was a bit disappointed. But then I did kind of, after a few minutes, think about it. I thought, well, it's getting me halfway home. It's a bit more money for today that I wouldn't get otherwise. It's building a relationship with a shipper. You know, there's lots of positives about this. For the sake of £10, don't worry about it. So it's helped my bottom line for today. These are my figures for today. And if I hadn't had a lone tyre yesterday morning, I had jobs booked in yesterday that would have given me my target this week. So almost there, but not quite this week. So I had something to eat. I had a frozen meal with me, so I had to eat it up. I made some calls, and then I made my way over to the pickup point. I got there about 45 minutes early. Just put my head around the door and said, I'm here when you're ready. They're really good guys there. They just acknowledged my presence, and then I went back and waited in my van. I had time to write up a pod. I had time to watch some YouTube videos, and then they came out dead on 8:30, which is what the time was meant to be for the booking. So couldn't really complain about that. They weren't late. I've got the items on board now, and I'm heading now to Gainsborough. That's what I'm doing right now. I've put some figures in for my stats for today, and based on me getting home. And again, my original plan was going to be to earn double what I earned, but go to Norwich But if I'd done that, it would have added on about 4 hours to my day. So actually, this isn't a bad solution. Half the money for half the time, effectively. So, let me tell you what the figures are for today. I have taken off a couple of hours because I didn't do any work in the middle of the day. Because I was just sitting around messing about while I was waiting. So let's go through what it is. So today, I filled up with fuel again, so I got another price. Yes, before I forget, because I will otherwise, I've had my fuel price through for next week. Um, I'm going to tell you my figures. I don't usually do this, but it's quite interesting. I don't know how these things have worked out, to be fair. It's a bit crazy. But the fuel card that I've been using a lot recently has gone down by almost 3p. So I was paying, well, this week I'm paying 124.03, which with VAT is 140, just less than 149p per litre. But next week it's gone down to 121.41, which with VAT is 145.7 pence per litre. My other fuel card last week was 125.39, so marginally more expensive. But next week it's gone down to 117.48. It's gone down by a good 7p, which makes it much better than my other fuel card. So from Monday, I'll be using my second fuel card now. That's 141 pence per litre with VAT, way lower than my local pump price. So I'm really pleased about those prices for next week. It's going to make a big difference because of the amount of miles I do to my bottom line. So going back to today's summary, my new average price for fuel is 15.75p per mile that I drive. Today I will have driven 460 miles, 460, and I will have worked for 16 hours. My gross earnings are from 4 jobs. The first job was a CX job. This is the one that I did this morning from Peterborough to Ilkeston, which is the one I think is the illegitimate one, £75. The second job was the £45 going from Alfreton to Grantham. The third job was a non-CX job because it was done, I was just called for it. That's the Grimsby to Scunthorpe to Leeds job. And then the icing on the cake for today is the one I'm doing at the moment, the CX job for £110, which, although it's made my day quite long, has made my earnings quite positive. So I will have earned £350 gross today, 350. My fuel costs today will be £72.46, which means that my net earnings today after fuel are £278, 278, which is above my target. So I am going to be potentially working tomorrow. I haven't got it booked in, but I am going to look for work tomorrow. But let me just give you the weekly figures, assuming I don't do anything tomorrow. Tomorrow's plan is to get my tyre back on, a new tyre back on my van from the one that burst yesterday. And what I'll do is I'll put the new tyre on the front the front driver side. I'll take that tyre off, put it on my rear passenger side, which is the one that burst, and I'll put the spare back in that. So this week, my summary for this week. I'm going to say that I've worked for 5 days, but if I'm being honest, Thursday was a half day yesterday because of a burst tyre. So I suppose really it's 4.5 days, but let's leave it at 5 days for the sake of this discussion. So this week I have driven 2,241 miles. I have worked for 66 hours. I've earned £1,490, 1490 gross. I've spent £353 exactly on fuel, which means my net earnings after fuel this week is 1,137, 1137. My pence per mile I've earned is 50.74, and the next figure is the one that I really care about. It's the average amount I've earned each day after fuel, and that's £227.40, 227.40. So it's below target. It is £23 below target per day. So over 5 days, it's basically £100, just over £100 that I'm under for the week. And finally, my average hourly rate after business expenses taken into account, £13.16 per hour that I've earned. You see? Yeah, so I can't think of anything else I was going to say to that today. Oh yes, there was one more thing. Sorry, yes. About 3:30 this afternoon, a job came up for Monday morning. Now I can't do this job, and I wouldn't do this job, but it was really. I just found it really interesting, and I can't do it because I got a hospital appointment on Monday, so I'm going to have to do a late start on Monday. No, a doctor's appointment, not hospital. And the job on Monday is from Peterborough to Ilkeston, and it's exactly the same job that I did this morning, exactly the same time, 8 o'clock start, with exactly the same shipper that I did the work for. So I did call the main shipper back and said, by the way, that job I did this morning is back on Monday with the same shipper. And at this point, I was able to give them the CX number because I hadn't got the job booked. It was on the booking, it was on the advert as well. So if I had been available on Monday, I would not have been on that job. It just feels too dodgy. Yeah, so a bit tired now. I've got probably another 2.5 hours of driving to do before I finish today. What time is it now? It's 20 to 10 now. It's going to be close to 12:30 to 1 o'clock when I get back. So I'll bring this to a close. Thank you very much for listening to my video. I hope that you are successful, however you choose to define that word for yourself. I haven't had time to think about what I'm grateful for today, so I'll leave that for today.